All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before we dive into this lesson, I'd like to give all honor and all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, double honor to the great master and other apostles who will teach and preach this truth across the four corners of this world, which rule well, and for the sincere Akim that's out there pushing this truth and sincerity, keep doing so, and for the sincere Akwathium that's out there reverencing their husband, being a pillar of rest, keep doing so, and for the hopeful elect that scatter abroad across the four corners of this world, okay? This lesson is basically going over 2nd Esdras chapter 11, chapter 13, and verse, in chapter 15, okay? We're gonna go ahead and jump to these mysteries in the scriptures, you know, because when you read in these scriptures, man, they not really, you know, sometimes it mean what it means and sometimes it don't mean what it mean, okay? So let me go ahead and get something real quick. Shalaki, bear with me. I'm trying to pull up this quick little precept to go ahead and start this lesson off. Okay, we're going to go into Psalms chapter 78. Chapter 78 and verse 2 through 4. And it reads and says, I'm going to start verse 1, and it says, "Give ear, O my people, to the law, incline your ears to the word of my mouth. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter dark sayings of old." Okay? So the Lord is saying he going to utter dark sayings because when you read these scriptures, man, they really don't mean what they mean, okay? That's why it says parables, okay? When you look at the word parable, okay, see what you get. You get the word allegory, okay? Or second definition is a simple story used to illustrate a spiritual lesson as told by Yahushua in his gospels, okay? So a parable is basically something metaphorically or allegory, something that really don't mean something that it really means, okay? So let's go ahead and get another precept on that. Trying to find it. I'm going to go to Numbers chapter 12 and verse 8. Numbers chapter 12 and verse 8, and it says, "With him will I speak mouth to mouth of even apparently and not in dark speeches." And Salaki, I don't think that's what I wanted. Salaki, bear with me. Salaki, bear with me. I'm trying to remember these scriptures. I'm Mark chapter 4 and verse 11. It says, and he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God, but unto them they are without. All these things are done in parables. Okay, so hey, it's given to you, brothers and sisters that's in this truth. It's given to y'all to know the mysteries of these scriptures. Okay, so that's why we can dive into these scriptures and be able to break down certain things, you know, from the elders on down, you know, ultimately from Yahweh Shem Shah, giving us this truth and knowledge, okay? So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the main course of this lesson, okay? We're gonna go into second Esdras chapter 11, you know, and we're gonna go through that first, okay? Got my notes to be able to break down, okay? If you ever read Second Esdras, man, it's a good book, man. It goes through the prophecies and things that's gonna come to pass, okay? So, and it reads and it says, then saw I, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads, okay? So what is this eagle? This eagle supposed to represent the Roman Empire, and the 3 heads supposed to represent Julius Caesar and Crassus and Pompey. Okay, that's what they supposed to represent. Salaki if I messed up the last Edomite's name, you know, but that's what them 3 heads supposed to represent. Okay, continuing reading. Okay, let's go through that verse 1. When it says, then saw I, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle which had 12 feathered wings. Okay, that eagle supposed to represent the Roman Empire, and when it says it had 3 heads, supposed to represent Julius Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey. Okay, let's continue reading. Verse 2, and it says, and I saw, and behold, she spread her wings all over all the earth, and all the winds of the air blew on her, and were gathered together. Verse 3, and I beheld, and out of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers and small. Okay, what is verse 3 talking about? Verse 3 is talking about the feathers. Each feather represents a Caesar. Okay, contrary feather means minor Caesars. Okay, so these feathers supposed to represent the Caesars. Okay, if you don't know who the Caesars are, you know, some wicked ass Edomites. Okay. You know, let's continue reading. And the reason says in verse 4, and it says, but her heads were at rest, and the head in the midst was greater than the other, yet rested in with the residue. Verse 5, moreover, I beheld, and lo, the eagle flew with her feathers, and rained upon earth, and over them that dwelt therein. Okay, what verse 5 is talking about when it says rain upon the earth, the part of the earth that the Romans was ruling over. Okay, so that's what it's talking about, rain upon the earth. It's talking about the part where the Romans ruled over. Okay, verse 6. And it says, and I saw that all things under heaven were subject unto her, that no man spake against her, no, not one creature upon earth. Okay, so that's showing like how much power, you know, these Romans had. Okay, that no man spoke against them. Okay, if you did, you probably got put to death. Okay, verse 7. And I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose up upon her talons, and spake to her feathers, saying, verse 8, watch not all at once, sleep everyone in his own place, and watch by course. Okay, when it says watch by course, you know, when it says Salakia, when it says one his own place, watch by course, this is talking about when one Caesar died, another rose up, or another Caesar took his place. Okay, verse 9, and it says, but let the heads be preserved for the last. When it says let the heads be preserved for the last, basically the first Caesar basically the first Caesar would come back in reincarnation as Vespasian and Titus and Domitian. Okay, so these reincarnations is very real here. Okay, we all been here. That's why we're going to Ecclesiasticus. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and hop back in King James. You know, we're gonna hop back into the scriptures. We're gonna go into Ecclesiastes. Okay. Like it, bear with me. Okay. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse bear with me. Verse 9 through 10. And it says, the thing that had been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Okay, so that means nothing's new under the sun. Everything that happened back in the ancient days is happening today. All those wicked Edomites that was there during them times are here today. Okay, all those wicked Israelites that was there in Yahushua's time are here today. All the righteous men and women that was there during Yahushua's time, during the time of the Roman Empire, are here today, okay? The hopeful elect, Lord willing, we part of that, okay? And it says in verse 10, and there anything the whereof it may be, see, this is new, it had been already of old time, which was before us, okay? There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of the things that are to come with those that shall come after, okay? So, hey, we don't remember our past lives, okay? But this scripture, going back to verse 9, when it says reincarnation, when this is basically, in verse 9, the reincarnation of one of the Caesars, you know, they're going to keep coming back. They here to this day, okay? They probably your leaders, you know, Republicans, the Democrats, you know, the rich families, okay? Let's continue reading in verse 9, and it says, but let the heads be preserved for the last, reincarnation of one of the Caesars. Verse 10, and it says, and I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her head, but from the midst of her body, and I numbered her contrary feathers, and behold, there were 8 of them. And I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather, and reigned over all the earth. And so it was that when it rained, the end of it in place thereof, and appeared no more. So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time. And it also it happened, and that when it rained, the end of it came also like as the first, so that it appeared no more. Then came there a voice unto it and said, Hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth, so long this I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more. There shall none after thee attain unto thy time, neither unto the half thereof. Then arose the third and reigned as the other before, and appeared no more also. So went it with all the residue of one after another, as that one after one reigned, and then appeared no more. Then I beheld, and lo, in process of time, the feathers that stood up upon the right side, and that they might rule. Also some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. Okay, let's keep on going to verse 22. And it says, for some of them were set up, but ruled not. Okay, verse 22. And it says, and after this I looked, and behold, the 12 feathers appeared no more, nor the 2 little feathers. Okay, so what is verse 22 going into? It says, 12 feathers represents the Roman rulers from Julius Caesar to Domitian. Okay, the 12 feathers represents the Roman rulers from Julius Caesar to Domitian, however you pronounce this devil name, Salakia. Okay, let's keep going. verse 23, and it says, there was no more upon the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested in 6 little wings. Then saw I also the 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6, and remained under the head, and that was upon the right side, for the 4 counted continue in their place. And I beheld, and lo, the feathers that were under the wing sought to set up themselves and to have the rule. And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but shortly it appeared no more. The second was sooner away than the first. And I beheld, and lo, the 2 that remained thought also in themselves to reign in verse 29. And when they thought, behold, there awakened one of the heads that were at rest. Namely, it was in the midst of that mist, for that was greater than the two other heads. What is verse 29 going to? Basically, the reincarnation of the 3 heads. Okay, remember them 3 heads that was spoken of. Julius Caesar. Let me go back into my notes. Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey. The 3 heads. Okay, that's reincarnated. Okay, Salaki for the noise. See going. And it says basically the 3 heads that were preserved for the last in verse 9. Okay, you go back to verse 9's breakdown, it's basically the Salaki for verse 29, the 3 heads supposed to represent the reincarnation of Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. Okay, them are the 3 heads that's reincarnated. Okay. Verse 30, and it says, and when I saw the 2 other heads were joined with it, and behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the 2 feathers under the wing that would have reigned. Okay, we're gonna keep going to verse 32. It says, but this head put the whole earth in fear, and bare rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth with much oppression, and had the governance of the world more than all the wings that have been. Okay, so verse 32, when it says much oppression, Vespasian started to oppress the Israelites with intent to destroy Israel. Okay, and that's ultimately what these Edomites' plan is till this day, to eradicate Israel. Okay, they've been trying to do this. That's why I brought out Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9 and 10, because there's no new thing under the sun. Okay, these Edomites been trying to eradicate us since Jacob took the birthright. Okay, let's keep on going. Got the hiccups, Salaki. Verse 33, and the reason it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more like as the wings, but there remained the 2 heads which also in like sort ruled upon the earth and over those that dwelt therein. Verse 34, the 2 heads, the Vespasian sons, Titus and Domitian. Okay, them are his 2 sons that took over when it says the 2 heads. Okay, and like sort ruled upon the earth. So they was doing the same thing their father was doing with much oppression. Okay. And it says, and I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it, and that was upon the left side. Okay. Let's keep on reading. And it says, then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee, and consider the thing that thou seest. Then I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee. Okay, verse 40, so let's keep going. It says in verse 39, art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts which I have made a reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them. Verse 40 is talking about the fourth beast is referring to the verse 40. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past and had power over the world with great fearfulness and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. Okay, verse 40 is going to the fourth beast spoken of in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 7 and verse 2. No, sloppy. Let me go into more. Because I think I probably meant to put 12. Okay. Okay, and the verse that fourth beast is talking about is spoken of in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 7 is talking about the Roman Empire. It says in verse 7, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, in the great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stepped the residue with the feet of it, and was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and had 10 horns. Okay, so what is that fourth beast? That fourth beast is the Roman Empire spoken of in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 7. Okay, but here it goes again in second Esdras chapter 11 and verse 40, that is spoken of again, that fourth beast. Okay, the Roman Empire, when it says iron teeth, is talking about his military might. Okay, let's keep going. And it says, and then it says, with great fearfulness in the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. Okay, hey, the Romans was oppressing the Israelites, man. They was putting us to death. Okay, in the most cruel ways. Because you look at this, when it says with wicked oppression, you know, you look at Daniel chapter 7 verse 7, and you look at this and you read, and it says with iron teeth, talking about the military might of the Romans, and stepped the residue with feet up. Slacky. The fourth, I'm gonna start at the beginning of it. It says visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. Okay, dreadful and terrible. Okay, because the Roman Empire, the Romans were wicked as hell, man. Okay, that's how you know this is in verse 40. It's talking about the Roman Empire, the fourth beast that came out the sea, spoken in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 7. Okay, let's go ahead and go to 42. We're gonna go ahead and jump to second Esdras. We're gonna jump into second Esdras chapter 12 and get 2 verses out of that. Okay, I'm gonna stop at verse 46. Okay, and it reads, and it says, for the earth hast thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroying the dwellings of them that brought fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Okay, so verse 42 is referring to the children of Israel. Okay, because that's all Esau was doing to us, man. We trying to keep the laws. Hey, Esau come out of nowhere and jack us up out of nowhere, slaughter us. Till this day, they still slaughter us. Okay. Verse 45, and it reads, and it says, verse 43, it says, therefore in thy wrongful dealings come come up to unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also have looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. Okay, verse 45. And therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. Okay, so verse 45, you got to note this. The eagle here is not referring to America, but rather the Roman Empire. Wicked feathers, basically the rulers of the Roman Empire. Malicious heads, basically going back to Galatius, Julius Caesar, Marcus Licinius, and Crassus, and Genius Pompey. And the hurtful claws supposed to represent the military might. Same thing spoken of Daniel chapter 7. The iron teeth represent the military might. Okay, and verse 46, and it says that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. What is this she? This is talking about Israel. Okay, so we're gonna get two scriptures out of chapter 12, and that's verse 15 and verse 32. We're going to start at verse 15 and read to 32, okay? And it says, whereof the second, bear with me, Lord, we're just going to get 15 to read all the way to 32 and jump into chapter 13. And it says, whereof the second shall reign, whereof the second shall begin to reign and shall have more. Let me go ahead and read the whole chapter so you can understand. And it says, and it came to pass, while the lion spake these words unto the eagle, I saw, and behold, the head that remained, and the four wings appeared no more, and the two went up unto it, and set themselves up to reign, and their kingdom was small and full of uproar. And I saw, and behold, there appeared no more, and the whole body of the eagle was burnt, so that the earth was in great fear, that awaked out of trouble and trance out of my mind, and from great fear, and said unto my spirit, Lo, this hast thou done unto me, and that thou searchest out the ways of the highest. Lo, yet am I weary in my mind, and very weak in my spirit, and little strength is there in me, for the great fear wherewith I was affrighted this night. So basically, when Esdras had this dream, man, he felt damn near sick. Okay? Verse 6, therefore will I now beseech the highest, and he will comfort me unto the end. And I said, Lord, that bearest rule, if I have found grace before thy sight, and if I am justified with thee before many others, and if my prayer indeed be come up before thy face, comfort me then, and shew me thy servant the interpretation and the plain difference of this fearful vision, that thou mayest perfectly comfort my soul. For thou hast judged me worthily to shew me the last signs. And he said unto me, this is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. Verse 13, but behold, verse 12, but it was not expounded unto him, therefore now I declare it unto thee. Verse 13, behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon the earth, and it shall be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it. And the same shall 12 kings reign one after another. Verse 15, whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12. Okay, so verse 15, second shall begin to reign, Augustus. Okay, if you never heard of Augustus, this is the second one that began to reign. And it says, and this do the 12 wings signify which thou sawest. And as for the voice which thou heardest speak and that thou sawest not to go out from the heads, but from the midst of the body thereof. This is an interpretation. That after the time of that kingdom where it shall arise great striving, and it shall stand in peril of falling, nevertheless it shall not then fall, but shall be restored again to his beginning. And whereas thou sawest the 8 small under feathers sticking to her wings, this is interpretation. This is that in him there shall arise 8 kings, whose times shall be but small, their years swift, and 2 of them shall perish. The middle time approaching, 4 shall be kept until their end begin to approach, but 2 shall be kept unto the end. And whereas thou sawest 3 heads resting, this is the interpretation. In the last days shall the Most High raise up 3 kingdoms and renew many things therein, and they shall have the dominion of the earth, and those that dwell therein with much oppression above all those that were before them. Therefore are they called the heads of the eagle, for these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness, and that shall finish his last end. And whereas thou sawest the great head appear no more, it signified that one of them shall die upon his bed, and yet with pain. Okay, let's keep on going. And it says, for the 2 that remain shall be slain with the sword, for the sword that one shall devour the other, but at the last shall he fall through the sword himself. And whereas thou sawest 2 feathers under the wings passing over the head that is on the right side, is signifying these that are they whom thou highest have kept unto their end. This is the small kingdom full of trouble, as thou sawest. In verse 31, and it says, and the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood and roaring, speaking to the eagle, and rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words which thou hast heard. This is the anointed which the highest have kept for them and for their wickedness unto the end, and reproving them, and shall upbraid them with their cruelty. Okay, so this lion that is spoken of in verse 31 and verse 32 is talking about Yahushua, because when you read verse 32, it says this is the anointed, which is talking about Yahushua, because you look at the word Christ or Hamashiach in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, it goes back to the word anointed. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump to verse 13. Okay, let's go ahead and get it. And it reads 13 through 1 through 13, okay? No, we're going to go to verse 45, okay? And it says, and it came to pass that the 7 days I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. Okay, so when it says, and there arose a wind from the sea, and there moved all the waves. No, in verse 3 it says, I beheld, and lo, that man that waxed strong with thousands of heaven. When it says that man that waxed strong, this is talking about Yahushua and the angels, okay? Because Yahushua is coming back with the whole host of heaven, okay? That's what that's talking about, with that man that waxed strong, all right? Verse 4, and it says that whatsoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth filleth with it when it filleth the fire. Okay, so that's talking about the fire coming from the chariots and from the ICBM missiles. Okay, verse 5, and it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the 4 winds of the heaven to subdue the men that came out of the sea. So verse 5, But it says, and after this, I beheld, and lo, there was a gathered together a multitude of men out of the number from heaven, so like a number from the four winds of the earth to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Okay, so in verse 5, the chariots will encompass the whole earth. Okay, so basically the armies, that's fighting against each other and stuff like that, they're going to be fighting each other. The next, they're going to be fighting each other. The next, they're going to stop fighting each other and start fighting Yahushua and the angels. But ultimately, the Lord going to destroy them. Okay, that's when you keep reading. And it says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Verse 6 is talking about Yahushua's chariot, which he's coming back in the Father's ship, a giant chariot. Okay, that's why it says in Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7, behold, he cometh with the eye, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. Okay, so everybody's gonna see Yahushua's ship because it's described as a mountain. Look how big a mountain is. A mountain is huge. Okay, look at Mount Everest. Look at Mount Fuji. Look at the Himalayan mountains. They are huge. Okay. Verse 8, verse 7. It says, but I would have seen the region or place whereof the hill was graven, and I could not. So basically, Esdras could not see where the hill was carved from because it was a chariot. Okay, so this is describing how big Yahushua's chariot is. Okay, he couldn't even tell where it ended at, So, verse 10, it says, I'm going to start at verse 8. And it says, after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to do him were so afraid, and yet durst fight. Okay, so, hey, these heathens and these Edomites and 2/3 of Israel that's within Esau's army gonna be so damn scared, man, that the Lord gonna put in their spirits to still fight them, because you go into Proverbs and tell you that man's going is of the Lord. So the Lord gonna put in their spirit to still fight them, They ain't gonna know why they doing it, but hey, they gonna be like, damn, why I'm still fighting? Then they're gonna get vaporized by a chariot, Verse 10, it says, but only I saw that verse 9, it says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held a sword, nor any instrument of war. So, hey, Yahushua didn't have to lift up his hand. He ain't had to lift up a sword. Hey, verse 10 tell you what he did. But I saw that he sent out his mouth, as it has been a blast of fire out of his lips, flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast sparks and tempests. Hey, the Lord burnt them up, man. Burnt them up. Gonna be burning these heathens and these devils and 2/3 of Israel up during World War III. Okay, because World War III gonna be the shortest war, man. Because it's gonna end in thermonuclear destruction. Okay. Salakia. Verse 11, it says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of a innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Okay, so hey, verse 11, the armies that's fighting against, the armies will fight against Yahushua. And hey, they will get completely obliterated, man. They're gonna get destroyed. The Lord ain't gonna, that's why I said he neither lifted a finger nor sword. A blast of fire came out, man. And that's heavenly fire, man. That fire gonna make them turn to dust. I'm quite sure you brothers and sisters that watched Tom and Jerry when y'all was younger, when they get burnt by fire or something like that, they turn to dust, man. The only thing you see is their eyeballs are sitting right there, But I'm just, sorry for the father, but they just gonna be dust, man. The wind gonna blow them away. That's how Yahushua gonna make them turn. He gonna turn them to dust. You seen World at Wars, when them chariots was shooting them lasers out, it's turning people to smoke, man. Turn them to straight salt, man. When you go into, we're gonna go into Habakkuk chapter 3. Habakkuk chapter 3. And it says, and his brightness was as light, and he had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Okay? So when you go into the blue letter, and I highly suggest that you use the blue letter to be able to understand what things is saying. Because you go into the blue letter, okay? Go into the blue letter, you type in Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 4. And it reads, and it says, when you go to that word horn, it goes back to the word Koran. Okay, that's good.
Strong's H, 7161. Kevin.
Okay, and you look at the definition, it says horn of strength, flask, container for oil, that's not the answer. Horn, a musician instrument, no. Horn like projections on the altar, no. Rays of light, okay? Rays of light. So that's what that's coming into, rays of light. Okay, so the Lord gonna be shooting rays of light as in lasers, okay? You look this up. You look up what a laser is. Laser beam, a narrow intense beam of light produced by a laser. Okay, so hey, the Lord coming back with chariots that can shoot lasers out, man. You know, that's what Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 4 is talking about. And then when you look at this, hey man, he shot a blast of fire at them, man. You know, verse 12, and it says, and afterward I saw the same man come down from the mountain and call unto him another peaceable multitude. What is this peaceable multitude? This peaceable multitude is talking about the elect. Okay. In verse 13 it says, and there came much people unto him, where some were glad, some were glad, and some were sorry, some of them were bound, and some were brought of them that were offended. Then was I sick through great fear, and I awake and I said, so hey, Ezra saw this dream, man. He was sick, man. He was like, wow, I can't believe I just saw this, man. That was heavy, man. You know, when you have dreams like that, man, they are very heavy, okay? So, you go ahead and jump to chapter 15. You know, this is going to be the last one. You know, I'm going to sign them off. You know, Lord willing that this lesson is edifying. Hopefully, you know, you brothers and sisters get edified off this video, okay? Verse 15, we're going to start at verse 1, of course. And it says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. Okay, you go into Exodus 1, 4, and 2, and Matthew chapter 10 and verse 20. You know, hey, let's go ahead and get them, you know, these precepts, you know, because when it says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. Hey, so ultimately, man, when we bring these things out, it's ultimately the Lord put in his spirit within us to bring these words out, okay? We're going to Exodus chapter 4, okay? So like, bear with me. So when you go into Exodus chapter 4 and verse 10 through 12, and it says, and Moses said unto Yahweh, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of slow of tongue. So, hey, Moses, he couldn't really talk for real, you know. And Yahweh said unto him, who had made man's mouth, or who maketh the dumb or deaf or seeing or the blind, have not I Yahweh. Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth and teach thee what thou shalt say. Okay, so hey, the Lord teaches us what we shall say to these people while we out in the highways and byways and hedges, you know. And when we ultimately doing these videos, he speaks to us and put his message out there, okay? Okay. So let's go ahead and get Matthew chapter 10, okay? Another precept, basically the Lord giving us his words to speak, you know. Matthew chapter 10. This is Matthew chapter 10 and verse 20, and it says, For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. So ultimately, man, this is Yahweh speaking through us to put the message out there, okay? And when you go back into the second Esdras chapter 15 and verse 1, 15 verse 1 says, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. So the Lord put in these prophecies within our mouths to speak out, okay? It says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Okay, so verse 3, incredulity basically goes into unbelief. When you go into Romans chapter 3 and verse 3, and it says, for what if some did not believe, some shall believe, shall their unbelief make faith of God without effect? Okay, so hey man, you gotta have belief, okay? That's why it says in verse 3, verse 2, and it says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. So everything the Lord telling us everything the Lord is telling us, it is faithful and true, okay? You got to have faith to believe this, man. Okay? You got to have faith. You can't just be, going with the flow, man. You got to have faith. Okay? Verse 4, for all unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So if you ain't really faithful, having faith in the Lord that he going to deliver you, get you out of sticky situations, man, hey, you going to die in your unfaithfulness when all hell breaking loose out here. Lord forbid that happens to me. Lord forbid that happens to you sincere brothers that's out there, okay? And it says in verse 5, Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Okay? Let's keep going. We're going to get to 28, the main points. And it says, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works were fulfilled. Therefore, what saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit with, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. So, hey, the souls of the just and our blood, when we get killed out in these streets, the innocent Israelites, because, these Israelites, they get killed, man, they probably getting judged for a reason, But our blood crieth unto the Lord, and the just complain continually, man, because we constantly praying, we constantly be feeling some kind of way when Esau do certain things, try to basically make us feel like terrorists and stuff, but we don't do nothing. We don't hurt nobody and stuff like that, but we complain continually, and the blood of the righteous cry out unto the Lord. Okay, let me go ahead and get that precept in Psalms. Okay. This is Psalms chapter 116 and verse 15. It says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints." Okay. So when you kill one of us, man, you touch the apple of his eye, man, which are the Israelites, man. Okay. Verse 9, it says, "And therefore shall the Lord, I would surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among my people. Behold, my people is led as the flock to the slaughter, and I would not suffer them suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof." Okay, so that's the Lord telling us that, hey, he gonna bring those same plagues that was back in the ancient days here again. Okay. Verse 12, and it says, "Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plagues and the punishment that God shall bring upon it. They shall till the ground shall mourn, and for their seed shall fail through the blast and hail, and with a fearful constellation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draw nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands." In verse 15, go into the race wars, because people will be taking up swords and try to fight against each other, okay? And it says, verse 16, "For there shall be a sedition among men, invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall not stand in their power." Okay, so it's gonna be sedition among men, as in, people gonna be straight breaking into each other's houses. People gonna be killing each other. It says they ain't gonna regard their kings or princes. What are your modern day kings or princes? Your mayors, your governors, and ultimately the whole government, because these Edomites, even though they were staged, it's gonna get even more worse when they release this verdict for whatever that Edomite name that killed George Floyd. Okay. Verse 17, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." Okay, it's gonna be military troops out there, and you ain't gonna be able to get out, man. You ain't gonna be able to get in. It says, "Because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the house shall be destroyed, and man shall be afraid. And man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." When it says a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, basically, in that day, your neighbor Billy Bob or your neighbor Harold, that Edomite, he ain't gonna give a damn in that day, man. He gonna kill you and your damn family because it's a lack of bread, which is spoken of and heard. And it says, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Because, the Lord gonna send a famine here, okay? But the hopeful elect gonna be eating, while Esau, Edom, and 2/3 of Israel are going to be fighting for food, and ultimately cannibalism going to be brought back because, they're going to be eating each other. Read 2 Kings chapter 6, I think, First Kings, Salakia, if that's the wrong scripture, but, they boiling their damn kids, man, okay? Verse 20, and the reason it says, "Behold, saith God, I will call together all the kings of the earth, reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Lebanon, to turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done to them, like as they do yet this day unto my chosen. So will I do also a recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Lord God. So the Lord telling us, as they done to us, I'm gonna do to them. So whatever these Edomites and these heathens done unto us, the Lord gonna put unto them twofold, man. He gonna give them double their cup, especially Esau, Edom. They gonna go into slavery 1,000 years and get destroyed, man. Okay. Let's keep going. And it says, my right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shall shed innocent blood upon the earth. The fire is gone forth from his wrath, and hath consumed the foundation of the earth, and the sinners like as the straw that is kindled. Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, saith the Lord. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children from the power, defile not my sanctuary. For the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them, for God shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him. Behold, a terrible vision, a horrible vision and appearance thereof from the east. Okay, verse 28, when it says from the east, talking about the Middle East. Verse 29, it says, and where the nations of dragons of Arabia should come out with many chariots, and a multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, all that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Verse 29 is talking about with many chariots, the Ishmaelites have a lot of weaponry that they have bought from their respective allies shall be carried as the wind. The earth cup upon the earth is talking about the coming destruction. Okay. Verse 30, also the Carmenians raging in the wrath shall go forth as wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle, and with them and shall waste a portion of the land of Assyrians. Verse 30, when it's talking about the Carmenians, referring to Iran, Assyria, the land of Assyrians represents America. Okay, verse 31, it says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remember their nature, and if they shall turn themselves conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Verse 31, dragons and Ishmaelites remember their nature to be wild, spoken of in Genesis chapter 11 and verse 12. Okay, so the Ishmaelites, they were always wild people, they always, you got to get them to kick into their wild nature, Verse 32, and these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power and shall flee. Okay. Verse 33, and from the land of Syria shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Okay, so verse 33 is talking about enemy besiege them. There are a lot of Ishmaelites in America. So you can see that, your local corner stores and things like that nature. Verse 34. It reads and it says, verse 35, it says, then they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon stars, even their own stars, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, and dung of man unto the camel's hole. So when it says in verse 36, basically there's going to be a lot of death out here. Okay, it's gonna be a lot of death. It's lucky my phone doing something. Okay. Let's keep on going. And it says, and there shall be a great filthiness trembling upon the earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. Okay. So that's what that's going into in verse 38. And it says, and there shall come great, verse 38 says, then shall there come great storms from the south and from the north, and another part from the west. Verse 38 is talking about different militaries. And verse 39, and strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it, and the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the stars stirred to cause fear toward the east, and west wind shall be destroyed. Okay, verse 41. Verse 40, it says, and the great mighty cloud shall be lifted up full of wrath, and the star that they make all the earth afraid, them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place a horrible star. Verse 41, for fire, hail, and flying swords, and many waters, that all fields may be full of rivers with abundance of great waters. Verse 41 is fire and hail and flying swords. Is going back and it's talking about missiles and many waters, basically the different militaries. Okay, verse 42, and they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood and grass of the meadows and their corn. Verse 42 is basically representing how indiscriminated the armies would be. Okay, you look up this word in Slovakia. I'm trying to pronounce it. I have a hard time pronouncing it too. I'm finna look it up. Indiscriminated. Okay. Indiscriminate. Okay, Slovakia. Basically done at random without careful judgment. Okay, so basically representing how indiscriminate the armies would be. Basically, they I can't really break that down perfectly, but hopefully, the brothers can rebuke me if I went off on it. We're on verse 43, and it says, and they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. In verse 43, this Babylon is talking about America, and it says, they shall come to her and besiege her, the star and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto heaven, unto heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her. So basically, verse 44 is talking about the star represents destruction. Verse 45, and it says, and they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put her in fear. Verse 46 is talking about the Asian countries, China and Japan. And verse let's go to verse 47. I'm gonna end on there. And it says, woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Okay, so verse 47 basically talking about China want to be just like America in some kind of ways, But hey, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. I know it's kind of long, but Lord willing, it's edifying. I'd like to give our honor and our glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, double honors to great minister, other apostle, will teach and preach this truth across the four corners of this world, which will well. And for the sincere Akim that's out there pushing the truth and sincerity, keep doing so. And for the sincere Akwathian that's out there representing the husband, being a pillar of rest, keep doing so. And the hopeful shalom to the hopeful elect that scatter abroad. Till next time, to the next video, shalom, Kram Yashawala, Abba, Abba.